For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to Strat News Global. I'm Amitabh Brevi. We're bringing you the latest updates, analysis, and we're expecting an official briefing as well from the Indian side on Operation Sindoor has entered its fourth day now. Founder and editor-in-chief of Strat News Global and Bharat Shakti, Nitin Gokhale, joins us for the latest on that as we wait on that press conference as well. Nitin, what information can we share now before that briefing, and is it emerging that this is the biggest escalation between India and Pakistan, military escalation since 1971?
Oh, indeed it is, Amitabh. If you discount what happened in Kargil, which was a localized conflict limited to that area, it is a biggest escalation since 1971, because now missiles have come into play. The drones, of course, were being used for the last 3 or 4 days on both sides. But missiles have come into play, and they are attacking from the Pakistan side. The attacks have also come into civilian areas. Now, the areas in Punjab, Firozpur, Bhatinda, Amritsar have come under a drone attack, and there was a big attack foiled when a ballistic missile fired by Pakistan post midnight last night was intercepted at Sirsa, over Sirsa in Haryana. And I suspect it was headed towards a strategic objective in North India, could be somewhere near Delhi or Delhi, we're not sure where, but it was intercepted, and it shows the Indian air defense in very good light, because if this missile had come somewhere near Delhi, then this would have meant further escalation. And following that, India has hit, according to Pakistan's DGISPR, 3 military airfields in Chaklala near the general headquarters of the Pakistan Army in Rawalpindi, and 2 others which have been given, which we'll actually talk about as we go along. But this is now serious, and there was an attempt of aerial intrusion. This is the moment when the missile was intercepted over Sirsa.
Correct. So let's just break it down. There's some audio as well there.
You can replay it. Yeah, you can replay it.
Go ahead. So just break it down. You said what you suspect is a high-value target was being looked at in India since this. Would I be right in saying a ballistic missile from Pakistan has been intercepted and brought down somewhere near Sirsa in Haryana?
Oh yes, indeed. In fact, I think we have some visuals from the ground where the missile parts are lying in an agricultural field, and villagers are seen carrying it. I think that video is also with us. I think this is a serious escalation, because so far India has avoided targeting civilians in Pakistan. Even after this attack, which was foiled over Sirsa, India has only targeted military air bases, as the DGISPR, I think, went to the media or held a press conference at 3:30 a.m. Pakistan time, I think, from what we have seen on social media. This is where I think Air Force personnel are inspecting the part of the missile that was shot down. And I think there is another video which we have, I think after this we'll be able to show you. But this is serious, like Amitabh, I'm emphasizing, because use of ballistic missile means Pakistan is now panicking, because the drone attacks and the earlier attack on the first day on 7th May has hit home and hit the high-value targets inside Pakistan. The terrorist headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba has killed terrorist leaders and their families, and this is something that they've not been able to stomach, really. And this is where we are. I think look at the explosion at Nur Khan airbase near Rawalpindi. Clearly, India is also used big missile here.
To get any audio from the video, but go ahead, Nitin.
Yeah, no, so see if you can replay this. Our team can probably try and replay this. Then I'll speak. So this has hit the Nur Khan airbase just about 7 or 8 kilometers from the Pakistan Army General Headquarters. This is a base where lots of logistics support is provided to the Pakistan Air Force. IL-76, IL-78 fuel tankers are based here. And remember, Pakistan is always running on, say, only 5 or 6 days of fuel stocks because of their precarious foreign exchange condition and precarious foreign exchange reserves that they have. So this is going to be a major blow to Pakistan's fuel reserves especially for the military. And the two other air bases were also targeted there. So this is a strategic targeting that India is doing with missiles. We don't know which one, and we don't want to speculate. But clearly, very effective targeting of these. And if you see these three air bases, yesterday, in fact, I had tweeted this map of several all of the Pakistani military air bases that are mapped by us, mapped for us by somebody. And these are the three air bases. Chaklala is the Nur Khan air base. There is also Murid, and there is the third one, which I can't really read the thing, but is it Farid or one is Farid and the third one I forget now. But these are the three air bases that were targeted by India and very effectively. I don't know whether we have the bite of the DG ISPR who admits that the three air bases were hit by India.
Yeah, we do. Though he says that their air defense was also functioning. We can play that out.
Right.
On the attacks by India, the missile attack by India on the Pakistan Air Force bases, majority of missiles have been intercepted by the alert air defense system of the Pakistan Armed Forces. The few that have been able to sneak in have not been able to cause any damage to the flying assets of Pakistan Air Force as per the initial damage assessment reports.
So he I think does give out the names in the longer version of the video. He's saying this that there's no damage, but if you clearly see closely see the video that we played out before this, shows a huge explosion, and the explosion cannot have not damaged some assets there. Some of the parked aircraft would have got hit if not fully damaged. And like I said, there are fuel reserves and fuel tanks that are kept there. Storage is one of the main purposes of the Nur Khan airbase, which was probably the very pinpointed target that India wanted to hit. And that's what has been done as far as Pakistan air bases are concerned. Amita?
Right. So the three bases that you're talking about, we'll wait for official confirmation of these three. But what we're thinking were targeted post the ballistic missile targeting that Pakistan did, that was brought down. Nur Khan airbase, Chaklala Rawalpindi, that's the one you were mentioning. Possibly also hit the PF Rafiq airbase in Shorpur and the Murid airbase in Chakwal. So just again to break down the three big points that you've raised here. One, Pakistan used ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles, if a ballistic missile at least, that's what we know. If it was shot down somewhere near Sirsa or Haryana, it was possibly targeting civilian infrastructure. Post that, India has targeted their military infrastructure, not civilian infrastructure, possibly those three air bases that we're talking about. And that's the escalation you're referring to.
Indeed. In fact, India is still sticking to its stand that it will not target civilian infrastructure or civilian population. And it is actually conveying a message to Pakistan that this is your chance to de-escalate if you want to. Because we will, like in the first place, we are only targeting either the terrorist camps. And in the first attack on the 7th, it was only terrorist camps and terrorist infrastructure that was hit. And India has made it emphatically clear in the subsequent communications and press conferences that that was non-escalatory, it was non-military and non-civilian targets that were hit by India. And if India then gets hit by Pakistani attacks, Indian military targets, and now if the civilians also get hit, then India will not hold back. And even now, India is holding back from attacking any civilian infrastructure or civilian populated areas. It is just targeting so far only the air bases, like we have seen overnight. And I think this is where I think the Americans and the Saudis will come in. And as we know, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called Pakistan's Army Chief General Asim Munir late last night or early this morning, and has had a conversation with him, offering what he called constructive help in starting a dialogue with India. This is what I think the readout says, but clearly everyone is worried, and the onus, like I said last night, is on Pakistan to de-escalate. If it escalates, then India will respond appropriately and proportionately in the appropriate domain. India has been saying this, which Pakistan seems to not read it or deliberately ignoring the language that India has been using. Amita?
Right, you're seeing Secretary Rubio's readout of his call with the Pakistani Army Chief. He's spoken to both Shahbaz Sharif and his counterpart Jaishankar earlier, separately, of course, but clear messaging here that if anything has to be done in Pakistan, who do you have to talk to? It is the Pakistani Army Chief and not the Prime Minister.
Oh, indeed. In fact, everyone in the world and their uncle knows that it is the Pakistani army that controls the levers of power in Pakistan. And it is only the army chief who can decide the next course of action. The prime ministers are mostly puppets or just for the namesake, sort of administering
In
or
fact, if you want
governing.
to talk about this BrahMos booster, and well-known analysts like Rohit Vats have talked about this that was found after the overnight developments.
Oh yes, I think India would have fired, like I said, which base, from which base India fired those or attacked those three air bases, we don't know. But this booster of the BrahMos is something that sort of jettisons itself once the ramjet takes over when the missile is fired, and it sort of falls before it gets into the full action really. And I think this is what Rohit Vats, whose Twitter handle goes by the name Kesari Dhwaj, I think has clearly explained in his graphic here. And this is something that is interesting because BrahMos coming into play. BrahMos is a cruise missile, remember? Very hard to detect or even sort of intercept. And clearly, if this has been used, and I'm saying if again, because we don't know, if this has been used, this is a major escalation from India on a military target and use of a very potent weapon that India has to use against Pakistan. Remember, Pakistan's missile that came in, the ballistic missile, is named Fateh, is what our information is. Again, in this fog of war, sometimes one could get it wrong, but that is what these missiles are meant for in Pakistan too, to target. The distances are not too much, as you know. India and Pakistan are neighbors, and western and northern India are areas are very close to Pakistan border. Similarly, Pakistani cities and towns are within striking range of any of our missiles and even armed drones. So it's clearly the warning time or the time by which a missile is fired and intercepted is very limited, and yet this missile was intercepted. And India's missile hitting the Nur Khan base clearly wasn't intercepted, and it sort of exploded at the airbase itself, as we saw from that visual. So it's right now warfare by missiles and drones, but it won't take much time to further escalate into manned aircraft fight if that comes to getting things get worse. But we'll have to wait for the briefing that is probably going to happen in the next 4 or 5 minutes of the Ministry of External Affairs, like Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri has been doing for the past 3 days. I think we will hear the details of what happened. Clearly, there is a graphic that was issued by Press Information Bureau on which areas were targeted overnight by Pakistan. They are mostly civilian areas: Firozpur, Bathinda, Jammu, Rajouri. Unfortunately, in Rajouri, one Jammu and Kashmir government official, if I remember his name correctly, one Mr. Thapa, got injured in the shelling. He was at home, and he has unfortunately passed away after getting seriously injured. And that is one casualty we know has happened, fatal casualty. And civilian areas have been hit in Jammu as well as in Bathinda and Firozpur by Pakistan. I think these are the areas which I've been talking about. This is, of course, a video from the army, I suppose, which prevented. And also, I believe the army has destroyed one Pakistani drone launch pad in areas opposite Jammu, which were targeting the areas of Jammu, Rajouri, Poonch, all those places. This is, of course, a video from last night where the press conference was held and this video was shown. But this morning, I think PIB has given out a kind of graphic of the areas. And from what I remember seeing, I'll just tell you what they are.
Well, Khasa Cant, Amritsar is one of the places mentioned. About 5 a.m. in the morning, approximately 500 hours,
Yes.
multiple armed enemy drones were detected over Khasa Cant, Amritsar. Our air defense units responded swiftly, intercepting and neutralizing all hostile UAVs. That's a Ministry of Defense tweet that they put up, and there was debris of the armament that was used as well.
Indeed. And this PIB press release or the graphic says that the locations where the drones were sighted, armed drones, Pakistani armed drones, was in Baramulla, Srinagar, Avantipura, Nagrota, Jammu. This is in Jammu and Kashmir. Firozpur, Pathankot, Fazilka, Lalgarh Jatta in Punjab, Jaisalmer, Barmer, Bhuj in Gujarat, Jaisalmer and Barmer in Rajasthan, Bhuj, Corbett and Lakhi Nala in Kutch. So these are the things that from, like they said, from Leh to Kutch, this is what has happened. Firozpur was also targeted in civilian areas. One family was injured, a local family there living there, and of course they have been treated and taken to the hospital by the authorities immediately. This is where I think Pakistan is going wrong. This is where Pakistan is upping the ante, and then it'll get the Indians now to actually hit back with much more ferocity than India has done. Or if India starts targeting their economic targets, then Pakistan will be in great trouble. I'm told by some of the intelligence sources that as it is, Pakistan is running low on its fuel reserves, and already petrol pumps are being told to ration the supply or the issue of petroleum products to civilians is what one is hearing. But we'll have to see whether that's completely true or not. But some of these videos were coming from Pakistan social media shows us what's happening there.
This is, in fact, we picked up from Reuters of Karachi last night. We also do know, Nitin, that around 10 o'clock, I think, the Raksha Mantri, the defense minister, was meeting the CDS and the three service chiefs.
He was this morning. He was scheduled to. Whether that meeting has started or is on, we don't know. But this is from last night when the Prime Minister met Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, the three service chiefs, the Chief of Defense Staff, and other officials from the Ministry of Defense. So clearly, the war cabinet, if you want to call it, it's not actually the ministers, but the operational heads are meeting regularly, meeting and briefing the Prime Minister, taking directions. And I think the main coordinator here is the National Security Advisor. The political inputs and the decision making then comes from the Prime Minister and, of course, the Raksha Mantri. This is what the decision makers, this is the group of decision makers in this time of emergency almost. War has not been declared. I must say this. That's why we've not called it it's war or something, because it's easy to say that. But war has to be declared by the government to call it a war. It is an escalation. It is something that will be monitored very closely, and we will know what are the next steps. And today will be a busy day for everyone. I think the armed forces are fully alert, fully countering what Pakistan is trying to do. And remember, the Navy hasn't come into the picture as yet. So far, it is mostly the Air Force and the air defense of the Army. But the full might, full force of the Indian Armed Forces and the military arsenal is yet to be unleashed. It is just a fraction of what India can bring to the table if push comes to shove. Amita?
Right, you were talking about the Navy, and we did have a map. We've been playing it out in several of our programs. Notice from Note Marine, which delineated how close the Indian and Pakistani naval ships had given pre-scheduled time frames and areas where they were conducting live fire exercises. I think the closest was just about 12 nautical miles, as you can see there. And this is again Damien Simon, a well-known OSINT analyst on Twitter, who would put this out. But apart from the Navy, that's another escalation totally. Just reminding our viewers what Nitin is saying here. A ballistic missile from Pakistan was intercepted and brought down somewhere over Sirsa, Haryana, we think. Now, that's deep into Indian territory, and it's possibly was heading towards civilian infrastructure. India has, we don't know the sequence of events, but this is how we think it played out. And the Ministry of External Affairs briefing should be starting in about 5 minutes, I think, is that India targeted possibly 3 of Pakistan's air bases. The pictures we're seeing now are of before that. No, I beg your pardon. This is again, these are the pictures of the ballistic missile.
This is a Pakistani missile being launched, and then the interception.
Correct. And if we go back then, so we're talking about Amritsar, which is also targeted, and all these areas that Nitin had pointed out. And before that, there was another round of what we think were swarm drones that were used all across the line of control and the international border, which we have shots of, and there were blackouts all through the night. So just if you want to take a question from one of our regular viewers, Rohan, can you please give us some implications, or in fact, what are the implications of this escalation, irresponsible escalation by Pakistan, and the efficacy of our air defense systems and the Indian response, which is what you started with, but just for those viewers who have just joined us?
Yes, in fact, this is what it's a pleasant surprise and really reassuring to see Indian air defense system rising to the occasion, and so far managing to thwart and intercept and destroy incoming Pakistani threats, both by armed drones and ballistic missile. At least one ballistic missile which we know of, which was targeting a strategic objective, perhaps in North India, maybe even close to Delhi. That shows that all the investments that have been done by India in the past 8 to 10 years, following the crisis with China, the border crisis with China from 2020 especially, is paying off. And also the indigenization of India's military arsenal, the emphasis towards self-reliance or Atmanirbharta, is clearly showing, because of course the highest air defense system that we have, or the best air defense system that we have, is the S-400 bought from Russia. But below that, as you come down the order, there are several other systems that come into play. There is Akash air defense system, which is completely indigenous. There are armed counter UAV systems. There are the old L-70 modified, kind of counter UAV system. There is the Zu-23 air defense guns that are there. And there are, of course, anti-aircraft guns with the Army air defense segment of the Indian Army. So there are several things that, and then there are these surface-to-air missiles, also interceptors. So the point here is that so far it has withstood. A lot of people have been worrying about whether Pakistan has probed and have mapped India's air defense system locations. But most people probably would not know that many of these air defense systems are mobile. So if Pakistan has seen it somewhere, let's say near Amritsar on 8th, that mobile system would have been moved somewhere else. So there are these countermeasures that can be taken in. It's not necessary that it's always static and fixed at one place. So rest assured that the countermeasures, the defensive measures, and then the offensive element are all in place as far as dealing with Pakistan's misadventure is concerned. I think they're just going berserk because of the irrationality and the radical nature of its army chief, that is General Asim Munir. But we'll see whether a phone call from the American Secretary of State will make some difference. But that's where we are, Amitabh.
Correct. Still waiting on that special briefing that was scheduled to start at 10:30, but I still see it's another 5 minutes or so. Just recapping before what Nitin was talking about, the ballistic missile that Pakistan fired, which was brought down somewhere over Sirsa in Haryana, we think. What happened overnight was, of course, the ceasefire violations that have been continuing over the last few nights and possibly in some firing in the day as well along the line of control and the international border. There were several swarms or multiple layers of swarms that were sent into India. According to the Defense Ministry, those drones were sighted at 26 locations from Baramulla in the north to Bhuj in the south. So that's to Gujarat in the south. All along the IB and the line of control, the Ministry of Defense said with the Pakistan, these included suspected armed drones posing potential threats to civilian and military targets. Nitin was mentioning some of the locations that were targeted. The locations included Baramulla, Srinagar, Avantipura, Nagarota, Jammu, Firozpur, Pathankot, Fazilka, Lalgarh Jatta, Jaisalmer, Bardmer, Bhuj, Corbett, and Lakhinala. The army said, regrettably, an armed drone targeted a civilian area in Firozpur, resulting in severe injuries to members of a local family, and assistance was being provided. And the Indian Air Force, as Nitin has been pointing out, is maintaining and retaliating or responding in both in defense and counter attack in the high state of alert, and all such aerial threats are being tracked and engaged using a counter drone system. So we've been talking about that over the last 2 or 3 shows, Nitin, in terms of the drones, but this escalation in terms of ballistic missile we're seeing now near Jammu is what you were talking about, those tube launched drones which were
Drones, yeah,
targeted
the
successfully
Launchpad.
by India.
Correct. I think that is the base from where all these drones were coming into Jammu division and towards Pathankot in Punjab and some other areas in Punjab. And I think that is something that India would have noticed. The location pinpointed it and has now gone and destroyed it overnight. Is concerned.
Yeah, go ahead, Nitin. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. As I said, the Launchpad was destroyed because that was
I
launching all
suspect
these
this,
drones.
unless there's something wrong on my end, that we can't hear you. Just recapping what Nitin has been talking about, you're seeing pictures there all through the night that we saw. These are other explosions that took place all through the night. There was initially another round of drone attacks, and these explosions, of course, look much larger. But what Nitin was bringing out, the point that he was bringing out, and we're hoping for.
I think, can you hear me, Amitabh? I think
Just
you
go
had
ahead,
lost
Nitin,
me.
because I think there's something wrong on my side and I can't hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that the Launchpad was important to be neutralized, and I think India finally pinpointed it, located it, and then destroyed it overnight after it was discovered that most of the drones coming in to Jammu division and otherwise is was actually creating problems for India. and therefore I think we need to give again credit to the offensive offensive capabilities of India's armed forces to first locate the launch pad and then destroy it. Amita? Okay, I think Amitabh's lost me, but let me go on. To give you updates from overnight, this is a sequence of events that happened. First, Pakistan launched a ballistic missile trying to target a strategic objective in North India near Delhi somewhere. We don't know which objective, but it was that ballistic missile was intercepted near Sirsa. You can see this, somebody who looked at it. I mean, somebody recorded it in Sirsa. And of course, this video is of that interception, which was done in over the skies, over the Sirsa skies. Sirsa is in Haryana. And then India launched several missiles over, at least three attacks on three different military airfields in Pakistan, where the main one being the Nur Khan airbase near Rawalpindi. This, of course, is the interception at Sirsa.
I think I'm having some issues with my audio because I can't hear you. So if you just continue for a bit while I try and sort that out.
I'll do that. So this is that interception by India. There you are. You can see the flash of light and the sound. If you can replay that thing again, the previous video after this, or this one, yes, with the sound. There you are. The flash of light and then the sound. It was a serious threat to the North Indian cities. Of course, several other armed drones were sighted, like the PIB and the Ministry of Defense have said, at several locations in Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir, Rajasthan, and Gujarat, and all were neutralized. Now, this is something that was launched from Pakistan, but of course, India also then targeted three air bases, like we said, and one of them probably was a BrahMos missile launched from somewhere in Rajasthan. We have the booster image of the booster in the lying there on the ground. These are the three air bases that were targeted in Pakistan by Indian missiles and Indian offensive capabilities. Amitabh is back, I think. Amitabh, you want to take some questions before we go to the press conference?
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that to all of viewers, and I couldn't hear you, so I thought you were not audible as well. Just looking at some of the questions that are coming from Carpe Diem, do you think, or would it be wrong to assume that Pakistan will not be able to afford fighting this war? Please elaborate your opinion. You did touch on it a little earlier, and of course, in all our other shows.
Yeah, in fact, Pakistan should really see the reality, should see the writing on the wall. It has just got a $1 billion bailout from IMF, which India opposed vehemently. The meeting took place in Washington, Indian time last night, and India made its opposition to that bailout very clear. In fact, it abstained from the meeting and said, you are actually sponsoring terrorism by giving the bailout to Pakistan. But remember, if that country survives on bailouts from IMF from time to time, then what would be its economic condition, and can it sustain a war that will be costly? Because no matter how much Turkey helps, one of the things that has been proved here that Turkey's overrated drones have been exposed by India's air defense, because most of the drones that were used were Turkish, some of them Chinese. And I think one of the deeper games here is that China is egging Pakistan on behind the scene, although it pretends to be concerned and express concern over the fighting, because China wants India to remain rooted in Indian subcontinent, busy in fighting Pakistan's proxy war and these kind of episodes. But I think India has decided to up the threshold, or sort of lower the threshold rather, and just go for the kill as far as military targets are concerned over the last 12 or 14 hours. Because India had said that if Pakistan targets military or civilian infrastructure or civilian areas in India, then all bets are off. And I think that's what has happened overnight by targeting three of the important Pakistani military air bases. India has made it clear where it stands. I think, therefore, there is panic in Western capitals, especially in Washington, D.C., and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, has now called Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir. So, long answer to your question, can Pakistan afford it? No, it can't. But Pakistan is known to try and muddle through. So, let's see where it goes.
We have been talking about the dearth or the lack of complete information, whether from official sources on either side, and then, of course, the added misinformation, disinformation campaigns, and people going absolutely berserk with theories. We had pulled out some of what you were talking about yesterday, the Best Information Bureau fact check tweets, if you can pull that out. Again, a question that has been repeatedly asked, and they talk about Rafales being downed, about pilots ejecting or being captured. Now Rituraj asking, has an airbase in Jalandhar been destroyed? And we're continuously saying that till there's something official, don't fall for all these rumors and reports online.
Yes, in fact, knowing how Pakistan operates, it lies through its teeth right from the day it was created in 1947. It lies to the international community. It lies to its own people, and of course, then carries on this campaign of misinformation. This morning, there were at least two misleading misleading points that were being circulated by Pakistani social media handles and some Pakistani officials, where they said that one female fighter pilot from India has been captured in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, which was immediately refuted by the Indian Air Force and the PIB fact check. Also, CGTN or Global Times, Communist Party of China's mouthpiece in English, had said that S-400 air defense system of India has been destroyed by JF-17, which was immediately refuted and rejected by India. So don't fall for these, this targeted misinformation campaign that has been.
If I just interrupt you, because if our production can put up the briefing which has begun.
Yeah, let's hear that.
स्थित पाक के सैन्य ठिकानों पर एयर लॉन्च सटीक हथियारों व लड़ाकू जेट से प्रहार किए गए। कसोर स्थित रडार साइट और सियालकोट का एविएशन बेस भी प्रिसीजन एम्यूनिशन से टारगेट किए गए। इन कार्रवाइयों के दौरान भारत ने कम से कम कोलैटरल डैमेज की क्षति सुनिश्चित की। चिंता का विषय यह रहा कि पाकिस्तान ने लाहौर से उड़ान भरने वाले नागरिक विमानों की आड़ लेकर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हवाई मार्गों का दुरुपयोग किया ताकि वे अपनी गतिविधियां छिपा सके। ऐसी चालों ने भारतीय वायु प्रतिरक्षा तंत्र को नागरिक सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करते हुए अत्यधिक संयम के साथ कार्य करने के लिए विवश किया। साथ ही साथ पाकिस्तान ने मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन का सहारा लेते हुए आदमपुर स्थित S-400 प्रणाली, सूरतगढ़ व सिरसा के हवाई अड्डों, नगरोटा के ब्रह्मोस बेस, देहरागिरी के तोपखाना पोजीशन तथा चंडीगढ़ के अग्रिम गोला बारूद डिपो को नष्ट करने के झूठे दावे सोशल मीडिया पर फैलाए। भारत इन फॉल्स नैरेटिव्स को पूर्णतः खारिज करता है। नियंत्रण रेखा पर पाकिस्तान ने ड्रोन घुसपैठ और भारी तोपखाना गोलाबारी के कई प्रयास किए। कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, पुंछ, राजौरी और अखनूर सेक्टर्स में तोप, मोर्टार एवं हल्के हथियारों से भीषण गोलाबारी जारी रही। भारतीय सेना ने प्रभावी व तुलनात्मक प्रत्युत्तर देते हुए पाक सेना को काफी क्षति पहुंचाई। पाकिस्तान सेना के अग्रिम क्षेत्रों में सैनिकों की डिप्लॉयमेंट बढ़ती दिख रही है, जो स्थिति को और भड़काने की मंशा दर्शाती है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल पूर्ण परिचालन तत्परता की स्थिति में है। अभी तक सभी शत्रुतापूर्ण कार्रवाइयों का प्रभावी ढंग से सामना कर उपयुक्त जवाब दिया गया है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल दोहराते हैं कि वे तनाव वृद्धि नहीं चाहते, बशर्ते पाकिस्तान भी ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे। आखिर मैं आपको कुछ वीडियो दिखाना चाहती हूँ जहां पर इंडियन आर्मी के वेपन्स LOC पर पाक के एसेट्स को ध्वस्त करते नजर आ रहे हैं। स्क्रीन में आप देख सकते हैं इस वीडियो को। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Pakistan military continued with its provocations, carrying out aggressive actions employing multiple threat vectors all along the western border. Pakistan employed UCAV, drones, long-range weapons, loitering munitions and fighter aircrafts to target civilian areas and military infrastructure. Pakistan military also resorted to air intrusions using drones and firing of heavy caliber weapons along the line of control. Along the international border and the line of controls, air intrusion and several harassment attacks were also attempted from Srinagar till Nalia at more than 26 locations. Indian Armed Forces successfully neutralized these threats and majority of the vectors. However, limited damage was sustained to equipment and personnel at Indian Air Force stations at Udhampur, Pathankot, Adampur and Bhuj. There were also several high-speed missile attacks noticed subsequently after 0140 hours in the night at several air bases in Punjab. In a deplorable cowardly act, targeting of civilian infrastructure also had taken place, where Pakistan attacked the Medicare Center and school premises at the air bases of Srinagar, Avantipur and Udhampur, yet again displaying irresponsible targeting of our civilian infrastructure. In a swift and calibrated response, Indian Armed Forces carried out precision attacks only on identified military targets. These included technical infrastructure, command and control centers, radar sites and weapon storage areas. Pakistan military targets at Rafiqi, Murid, Chaklala, Rahim Yar Khan, Sukur and Chunya were engaged using air-launched precision weapons from our fighter aircraft. Radar site at Pasroor and Sialkot Aviation Base were also targeted using precision munitions. While carrying out these responses, India ensured minimum collateral damage. Pakistan has also attempted to execute a continued malicious misinformation campaign with claims of destruction of Indian S-400 system at Adampur, destruction of airfields at Suratgarh and Sirsa, BrahMos base at Nagrota, RT gun positions at Yari and Chandigarh forward ammunition depot, with heavy damages to other military stations being propagated on social media. India unequivocally rejects these false narratives being spread by Pakistan. Along the line of control also, Pakistan has attempted multiple air intrusions using drones and conducted shelling using heavy caliber RT guns, targeting civilian infrastructure and killing some civilians. Heavy exchange of artillery mortars and small arm fire in Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Akhnur sectors continued. Indian Army has responded effectively and proportionately, causing extensive damage to Pakistan Army. Pak military has been observed to be moving their troops into forward areas, indicating offensive intent to further escalate the situation. Indian Armed Forces remain in a high state of operational readiness. All hostile actions have been effectively countered and responded appropriately. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is reciprocated by the Pakistan military. At the end, I would also like to show you a few images of Air Force bases in the Punjab sector and Rajasthan sector, where it is mighty clear that we are debunking the Pakistani claims of causing destruction at these air bases. You can yourself see the normalcy in these Air Force stations. This is Sirsa, Suratgarh. The runways are intact. There are also time stamps, just notice, there are also time stamped. This is today. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel Qureshi. Thank you, Wing Commander Singh. I just have a few points to make in closing. First of all, as you have seen, Pakistani claims about activities that they have undertaken continue to be heavy on lies, misinformation, and propaganda. And on top of that, this is peddled by Pakistani state agencies. The claims that they have made about attacking and destroying various places, various military installations and facilities, as has been pointed out by my colleagues here this morning, are completely false. The claim about the Air Force station in Sirsa being destroyed, completely false, as you've seen. The claim about the Air Force station in Suratgarh being destroyed, completely false again, as you have seen. There's a claim that has been made that the S-400 base at Adampur was destroyed, completely false, once again. Claims have been made about large sections of Indian critical infrastructure, power systems, cyber systems, etc., being attacked and destroyed, completely false. I would urge all of you and all those who watch this not to be misled by this tissue of lies that is being peddled by the Pakistani state for obvious purposes. The second point that I wanted to emphasize is that Pakistan continues with its execrable and wanton campaign of targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure, especially in the states of Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. There is also on its part a consistent attempt to sow discord between communities in India. As I said, there has been a particular focus in its targeting of civilian infrastructure and the population in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. Earlier this morning, Pakistan shelled the town of Rajouri, killing the additional District Development Commissioner, Shri Rajkumar Thappa, adding to the civilian casualties and the damage in that state. We have also observed overnight damage to property and injuries to civilians in Firozpur and Jalandhar, among other places. Finally, as I said, Pakistani officials also continue to make ludicrous claims about India firing missiles towards Sri Amritsar Sahib. As I said, these lame attempts to divide India are doomed to failure. We have also seen in some of the remarks that have been shown on television that the Pakistani army spokesman seems to take great joy at the fact that the Indian public should criticize the government of India with regard to various issues. It may be a surprise to Pakistan to see citizens criticizing their own government. That is the hallmark of an open and functioning democracy. Pakistan's unfamiliarity with that, again, should not be surprising. And finally, there is this yet again completely ludicrous claim that Indian missiles have hit Afghanistan. Totally frivolous allegation, and I only want to point out that Afghan people don't need to be reminded about which country it is that has on multiple occasions in just the last 1.5 years targeted civilian populations and civilian infrastructure in Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, as you would have gathered from this morning's briefing, we are dealing with an evolving situation. Accordingly, today we don't have the time to take questions, but we will continue to update you on this situation as we go along. Thank you all very much for joining us this morning.
Yeah. Sorry, Amitabh, I couldn't hear you. I'm not able to hear.
Should we okay now, Nitin?
Now, okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
So your takeaways from that official briefing of the information that they gave out in terms of kinetic action, retaliation, thwarting of attacks?
Well, first thing is that Pakistan continues to try and target civilian areas, also using civilian air traffic as a shield, and indulging in false narratives being peddled for Indian public mostly. But from what we now know, that they had targeted 26 locations in India, which all were completely negated, except for some minor damage to some of the Air Force stations, like the spokesperson said. But more importantly, India targeted 4 Pakistani air bases, not 3 that I've been talking about. The first is, of course, the Murid in Chaklala, Nur Khan, which only the Pakistanis have themselves admitted, Murid in Chakal, I think, then Rafiki in Jhang, and Sialkot. In Sialkot, of course, the radar base was also targeted by India, and very precisely targeted, because these are the areas where Pakistan is trying to launch air attacks and also drone attacks, armed drone attacks from there. And I think that should tell Pakistan where it stands. If India decides to up the ante, and India has actually said, one of the other takeaways is that we are still saying that we will not, we'll like to sort of have a policy of non-escalation, provided Pakistan also reciprocates. But if Pakistan doesn't reciprocate, India will continue to hit the way it has hit these airfields overnight or early this morning. I think that's the takeaway. Like the Foreign Secretary said, that it's an evolving situation, and we'll have to wait and watch what effect Secretary Rubio's call to Asim Munir brings. But if it doesn't happen, I think we are in for a long day and perhaps a longer night going forward on Saturday. Amitabh?
Right, and those pictures that we're displaying, are just trying to send it to our production team there of misinformation from the Pakistani side, whether it's from the state or otherwise, that everything is as per business per usual in the Indian Air Force station, both Sirsa and Suratkar, and those pictures have been shared there, but we'll put them up a little later. But interesting comment from Wing Commander, or information from Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, when she said that Pakistani troops are being moved into forward positions.
That's right. So that's I think something that we Indian military would have noted, Indian decision makers would have noted, and accordingly taken steps to make sure that there are enough forces to take care of any misadventure that Pakistan tries to launch on the land or on the land border itself. So far, it has been an aerial battle or aerial duel that has been going on, and the briefing made it clear that the air bases have been targeted. Interestingly, although we said this in the morning, and we have been getting this from the social media handles as well as some of the reports coming from Pakistan, and Pakistan's DG ISPR himself saying India has refrained from talking about the Nur Khan air base near the GHQ Rawalpindi. And that is something that we'll have to see. But Rahim Yar Khan air base being targeted also significant, because that is where I think the conflict has got widened. And again, we are showing you this video of how this Nur Khan air base was targeted. This is a Pakistani video. It is not that we have sourced it. It is on social media. It's on internet, and it is time-stamped on some of the videos that have come from there. So I'm a little intrigued about that, but we'll leave it at that. It's maybe a fog of war, or maybe deliberately left out, because it is considered escalatory. It is very close to the Pakistan General Headquarters. But that apart, I think India's response has been measured, pinpointed, targeted, and still on military targets, concentrated on military targets rather than Pakistan's civilian, the way Pakistanis are doing in civilian areas of India. That is the difference between a rogue state, a state that supports terrorists and terrorist organizations without without batting an eyelid, and a democracy like India, which is a responsible power and which wants to stick to rules as far as possible. But if it doesn't, if Pakistan or any other adversary doesn't, then they will take appropriate action. This is, I think, the photograph of Air Force Station Bhuj, most probably, which has been shared by the spokesperson. This is the runway.
Suratgarh.
Suratgarh, which is intact, although Pakistanis have been saying that they've completely destroyed. And there is also, I think, Adampur, which has been shown or has been spoken about in the briefing itself. So that is something that has to be noted. There is a huge campaign, a huge overload of misinformation coming in from Pakistan. Don't believe it. Trust the government sources, trust credible news sources, and just be calm and confident, because the Indian Armed Forces are on full alert, highest alert, and I think they're keeping a watch on any misadventure, any operation that or any attack that Pakistan launches. Amitabh?
So these pictures that were shared at that briefing, basically trying to show that it's business as usual. They were time-stamped, as were pointed out there, because there's a lot of misinformation, both from Pakistani state and other both social media handles and out there on the internet, about bases being destroyed in India. And in fact, a question from one of our viewers, which we put up. Again, one of the points that was brought up in the military part of the briefing about Pakistan using high-speed missiles in targeting, in looking at targets in India. Nitin.
Oh yes, they said that, and where it was intercepted was not mentioned, but from the location we know from local reports that are coming in, these are Indian Air Force personnel inspecting the remains of the high-speed missile that was intercepted over the skies in Sirsa. And this is another point that reminds me, Amitabh, about aircraft losses by India. And this is what happens. Yesterday, I was talking about how whenever there's an aircraft that crashes somewhere in India, somewhere or the other, do we have that video where people are carrying the remains of that Pakistani missile? Maybe we can pull that up and show. People reach there the fastest, first before anybody else. Click pictures, click videos, and send it. And therefore, I'm really curious that if Pakistan and others in India, some of the critics of the government are claiming that Rafale or some other airplane had crashed on the first day. Where are those pictures? I mean, it's even in a remote area like the Naval airbase near Bikaner. There is a picture available from local sources, the police there, the local villagers. This is the BrahMos, of course, the booster, which jettisons itself once the BrahMos gathers speed and the ramjet takes over, and then the missile sort of cruises towards its target. But where are those pictures? I have not been able to locate them anywhere, or have not heard it from any local newspaper, local stringer. That's what intrigues me. Even if we assume that there were some losses by the Indian Air Force on the first day, I still haven't seen them, and that is something which is very surprising at the moment. But that's a aside. Maybe we should look forward, look ahead, where we are headed from here.
Sure. So again, as in every official press briefing that has been held, and of course it's the Foreign Secretary who will deal with the larger issues. The military briefing was given by the Wing Commander and Colonel Qureshi. There is constant reminder that India does not want to escalate. But every day when we come back, we find that Pakistan continues to move up the escalatory ladder, and India is both thwarting any Pakistani targets, targeting, whether it's by low, cheap drones, or you were pointing out Turkish drones, or that high-speed missile.
Oh yes, in fact, Pakistan seems to. This is that video that we were talking about, where villagers are carrying the remains of the Pakistan high-speed missile, which was shot down, intercepted over Sirsa in Haryana. So this is the kind of thing that happens anywhere in India. It's such a highly populated, thickly populated country with high density that you can't escape from any scrutiny by the local people. That's what I was talking about. But yes, you're right about the Pakistani tendency to actually uh, sort of push the envelope against India, because its army chief somehow has taken to himself that unless he does that, his image and his status in the Pakistani society will not get boosted. But I think that's something that he hasn't factored in, that India's response is so far very measured, very pinpointed and targeted. But if India decides to then go the whole hog, open up the entire spectrum of war, then Pakistan has very little chance of surviving, except for then threatening their nuclear arsenal. I mean, threatening to use their nuclear arsenal, where we hope we are not going to come to, because that's something that the world doesn't want to see. And therefore, I think the Secretary of State has now reached out to Asim Munir and telling him very clearly what he needs to do. I suppose we'll get to know what the details are. But this is that, again, remains of the high-speed missile that was shot down over Sirsa, incoming from Pakistan. Rita?
A quick couple of questions before we wrap up on the show. Nitin, this is again has been asked before. How thoroughly would you say our air defense has been tested so far, and it has performed well? But is that just because Pakistan is weak? I presume the presumption is that the targeting platforms have not been very high tech as yet.
Yes, that is one, and of course, like I said, battle-tested equipment always then can be improved upon. I am not saying it's foolproof. Some missiles, some drones will get through. One must remember that in war, many things can go wrong. Many decisions can backfire. But so far, I am emphasizing this term. So far, the air defense has risen to the occasion, has done splendidly, and will continue to, I think, improve as we go along. Certainly, we don't know what is the Chinese capability, but some of the Chinese drones have been proven to be as ineffective as we have known colloquially, where we say that the Chinese product doesn't last much and is of low quality. And I think it has been proved in some cases. But the Chinese will reserve some of their bigger and better, technically better equipment and rockets and missiles for a contingency and not give it to Pakistan, which is what I presume. But remember, India also has S-400. It has its own Akash missile air defense system. It has its own counter drone systems that have been developed indigenously. So I think we are doing well there. Of course, we'll have to replenish. India will have to replenish the stocks, also improve and learn from whatever shortcomings that were noticed during this phase of countering the incoming drones and missiles from Pakistan. But I think overall we have done, the air defense has done very well at the moment.
And that's what Xerxes also says. The writings on the wall, Indian AD is not only superior air defense, but is actually doing its job. The Chinese air defense of Pakistan has not been able to intercept Indian drones and missiles, though, of course, the military spokesperson had said that there were some interceptions there. Talking about information warfare here now, Shubhankar Bhandari, we're clearly falling behind in the information warfare game against the ISPR. When will our establishment finally wake up and start countering their narrative, is what Shubhankar says.
I think, we have to also see the context. The ISPR bases its campaign on misinformation and lies, whereas India is measured, it is based on facts. And like I said, PIB fact check has got into the act very quickly. These days, immediately, all these misinformation is refuted officially. You can see this, the way the handles are active and are immediately putting out the counter narrative. Of course, if you're talking about what the Western media continues to believe in the ISPR in Pakistan, that's because of historical reasons where India was always kept out of the narrative or otherwise. But this is where the Western media is also losing its credibility. And I think two of our ambassadors, one in the US and the other High Commissioner in the UK, have actually very succinctly and very effectively countered and actually posed questions to the Western media outlets like CNN, Fox News, and Sky News in Britain and US. And of course, some of them still continue to have those questions on the Rafales. But I continue to come back to this. Let's assume a Rafale has fallen or Rafale has crashed. Where is the evidence? And first, we have to see the evidence, at least some photograph, some video. Once it comes, if the government admits it, there's no harm in doing it. Like I said, in wars, there are losses which we must be able to accept and move on. And this is not about why it crashed or did not crash, but also about the effectiveness. I think the targeting of the Pakistani military air bases early this morning by Indian Air Force proves that the accuracy with which, the precision with which these air bases were targeted, I think should tell us and should tell Pakistan how effective India's missile power is, standoff weapons are, and the aircraft that use and the pilots that fire those missiles are. So at the moment, I think we'll have to leave it at that, Amitabh, as far as that point of discussion is concerned.
Sure. Just again bringing up the video that you were talked about with parts of a missile or debris being lifted away by civilians. You're making a different point there, but Rohan again asking a pertinent question: is it safe for civilians to handle unexploded or even exploded ordnance or debris? Is there an advisory to this effect?
Oh, there's from time to time lots of advisories are given, even Air Force bases and Army bases near. I mean, Army bases wherever they are located, they keep talking to the people, keep telling them. But I suspect that this one was inspected by Air Force personnel. We saw in those pictures, hazy pictures that we put out, still pictures, and they're just waiting to be carried away. So I suppose this precaution has been taken in this particular case. But it's right. Rohan's concern is very right that they should be told that they should not handle it without professional help.
We were talking about Pakistan, its economic situation, various pressures that it was under both domestically and internationally on all fronts. Now, Afghanistan came up. There's some ta- talk there that Vikram Misri had to take about India targeting Afghanistan. But Sanjeev Bhatia has a different kind of question. Is there concern among Indian policymakers that a protracted conflict could derail India's economic asset?
Well, of course, they would be aware of this, and like I said yesterday, India has much to lose if there is a full-fledged war. Not because India is afraid or India is not capable, but because right now India's focus, India's objective is to become economically stronger, become prosperous, and bring as much prosperity to its people. And a war is always a distraction, always a drag on economy and decision making, and also governance. So India would certainly not like it. But like I said, if Pakistan imposes war on India, then India has no choice but to respond. And these are some of the videos of Indian army targeting Pakistani military bases or posts along the line of control, which were shared during the press conference, I suppose, Avidar.
Yeah, just some more videos that are being shared by official sources that we'll get out in subsequent programs. But if I can just take another couple of questions, if I can find them there, which is just looking at the thread that since yesterday, what we've been talking about, and today, the information. Amit Damle asking, Nitin, how much longer will India and Pakistan, I presume, when he says they continue, or will both sides try to find a way out now? Doesn't it just depend on Pakistan, as Vikram Misri has been pointing out?
Indeed, in fact, the Pakistanis having conveyed this message time and again that the onus of either escalating or de-escalating lies with them. If they want to de-escalate, India is willing to reciprocate, as Vikram Misri has said, the Foreign Secretary, this morning also. But if Pakistan continues to attack and continues to target civilian as well as military infrastructure, then India has no choice, like I said, but to respond, and respond very vigorously and very pinpointed way on Pakistani military targets at the moment.
Xerxes has another question, and if you can take that with the readout that came out from the US State Department of Mark Rubio, as the Secretary of State, and now the NSA for the US. He had a talk with General Asim Munir. This is the question from Xerxes Langrana. Nitin, shouldn't it be prudent for India to neutralize Pakistan's nuclear assets?
Well, it's easier said than done. I wish it was that easy. If that was so easy, I think it would have been done by the United States, and not India did not have to really worry about it. But that's not easy. Pakistan has got this so-called shield in its arsenal, where they continue to threaten. In fact, the National Command Authority of Pakistan is apparently meeting. The Pakistani Prime Minister has convened that meeting today, which is like soft nuclear signaling that we are also contemplating, or we are also getting ready for using, or if it comes to that, if it comes to crunch, nuclear option can be considered. But these are all signaling, these are things that politicians and governments do, especially Pakistan does, because then the Western capitals get worried about nuclear factor and the use of nuclear weapons, which has not happened so far, but nothing is off the table when it comes to Pakistan. So we'll have to wait and watch. Neutralizing that, just to give a clear answer, neutralizing arsenal, there could be a Indian plan, there could be a US plan, which is there, but I'm not aware of it. On the face of it, doesn't seem to be very easy. So I'll leave it at that.
If you just want to wrap up the show, Nitin, as to both in terms of Pakistan's targeting since we last talked last evening, and the overnight developments, the daytime developments, and of course the briefing.
Yes, so basically, I think there is an escalation that has happened in the last 12 hours or maybe 20 hours, when Pakistan tried to target strategic objective in India through its high-speed missile, and several, at least 26 locations and airfields, military targets, and civilian infrastructure in India, which were mostly thwarted. Some injuries, some minor damage to Indian uh, not air assets, but some of the buildings or some of those things that has happened. And India has responded in kind. In fact, more than effectively, more than what Pakistan could do. It has hit 4 Pakistani air bases, 5 if we take into consideration the Nur Khan air base being hit, which has not been mentioned by the official spokesperson, but all evidence, and in fact, DG ISPR's own admission says that Nur Khan was targeted. So there you are. We are at that point where even US has now managed to sort of shift its attention from Pakistani Prime Minister to Pakistani Army Chief, and probably trying to intervene and tell Pakistan to de-escalate. India has said it is willing to de-escalate if Pakistan reciprocates, but if it doesn't, then India is prepared to go the distance and accordingly respond to any Pakistani misadventure. That's where we are at this moment. It's about 11:30 on Saturday. It could be a long day and maybe a longer night if things don't become normal or don't sort of de-escalate going forward. So we'll have to wait and watch how it goes.
I'm just going to take one more question, though. We are still up that we don't know how far we'll go on that escalation ladder. Vikramu says Balakot brought deterrence till this year. How much do you predict this operation will do in the future?
Maybe another 5 years or more, because this was 2 steps up from Balakot. Balakot targeted an isolated terrorist camp in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. But here, India has shown the ability to target terrorist headquarters and infrastructure in Pakistan, Punjab, which is its heart, Pakistan's heart. And Pakistan will think twice, or terrorist organizations will think twice before they now get into any other misadventure like Pahalgam or any other deliberate provocation like Pahalgam. We'll wait.
So these are the videos that the External Affairs Ministry has shared, and some of them were played out during that briefing, and we continue to do that. So Nitin, we will come back and give more analysis with more news. I'm just going to play out, put out some of the comments that have come on the show. Sridharan, who congratulates you. Nitin says, keep it up. Curious Deal says, great insights. Thank you. Well planned. And this is the coordination between the 3 forces. Chaitanya says, thank you for continuing with quality reporting. Shri says, Nitin Gokhale, one sane reporting in the middle of chaos. And this is the one that I think takes the cake. Dipesh Shah, this video feed came randomly, but good to see both of you. Please do share updates like this without any gimmick. We have many Ekta Kapoor news channels. Anyway, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for all the support. We'll try and continue to remain grounded and sane and try and bring you factual reporting as well as analysis as long as we can, and as long as we keep getting information and keep getting support from all of you. Thank you.